What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I just watched a movie called Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, starring Chris Hemsworth, Anna Taylor-Joy, and Hugh Key-Byrne. I don't like to make fun of people's birth given name, but who did that? Why did you man? You can change your name. It's possible these days. Change your name, please. It's still time. First of all, well, this would be the first time, now that I'm thinking about it, that Chris Hemsworth has ever played a villain ever in life. And it got me to thinking, this should be a bigger deal, by the way. First of all, it should be a bigger deal. Remember Denzel Washington and the big deal they made when he played a villain? Why is this not being a big deal with Chris Hemsworth? Why is it not a big deal? I don't know. And it got me to thinking also, who else in the MCU has played a villain only to be brushed under the rug because they're already playing those big MCU heroes that Marvel wants them to play? And the first one that comes to mind, Robert Downey Jr. Yes, you would think with an actor like Robert Downey Jr., he played a villain a long time ago. He has villain all over him. But really, he just recently played a villain in a movie called Oppenheimer. And I have never seen this movie, don't have an interest to see it ever. Even after I do this review, I still don't want to see it. But he played Louis Strauss, a weapon engineer, if I'm getting that right, who was not a very nice person. All right, to the point where he didn't tell people how important it was that nuclear weapons are very dangerous and they should know that. But he didn't say any of that when he was doing this. Okay, so yeah, that's just a taste of how horrible or a piece of crap this man was. All right. Then we have Chris Evans. And once again, I know. Captain America. He can't play a villain. He can't do this. How is he a villain in any movie? All right, but no, Captain America did some bad things as Chris Evans as an actor. All right, he had two villain-like roles. One was in Knives Out, where he played the black sheep of the family. And I can't go any further into that description because I will tell the whole story of the movie and ruin everything. I did do a review on this. Watch my review. Okay? Then there's Iceman, which was not a lead role for him. That goes to the guy who played the crooked cop in Boardwalk Empire. But he played an ice cream truck driver / killer. I would never see in my entire life Chris Evans playing this type of role. And they played it off like it, they did nothing wrong. Like this is a buddy movie. Pretty much. They kind of did that. Like, oh, it's cool. He's selling ice cream cones and stuff like that and killing people and all that. He's got a refrigerator for the heads, right? They just kind of underbrushed that one. And then we have Mark Ruffalo. The nervous guy who's always fidgeting around and not sure of himself in practically every movie he's played in. He played a villain. Poor things. You forgot about that, didn't you? He played a horrible person. He kidnapped the main person in the movie. He kidnapped her. Now, the stuff they did after that she was all into it, but just the idea of what she really was a little crazy. We're not even going to get into that. But him as a character, he was a horrible person. He just an idiot. He was an idiot. Couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand his character at all. It was horrible. It was just all around trash. Now, he can do better as a villain in the future, I hope. But for now, that's all he's got. All right? And next we have Scarlett Johansson. Now, with her demeanor, I would also think that she would have played a villain a long time ago. I mean, for some reason, she just gives off that vibe. But no, it took her a minute, and the first one she did was Under the Skin. And this was a very disturbing ass movie. She lured guys back to the house, horny dudes, desperados, back to the house, and they sank into the floor and just were in suspended animation forever and ever. All right? Sorry. And I just never got what the point to that was. What's the plot? I don't get it. Why did she take all these dudes back to the house and she didn't do anything with them? She just kept them in suspended animation like bugs. It didn't make sense, but it was very disgusting and disturbing and a good movie to watch. And she also played in Don Juan as one of the worst girlfriends I've seen in movie history. All right? She was despicable. If that man wants to clean his own house, let that man clean his own damn house. All right? Not everybody wants a maid. I mean, we want enough money to afford a maid, but we don't want a maid. Okay? And last but not least, Tom Holland. Now, yes, Tom Holland even played a bad role, or an antagonist, or a bad person, if you will. In Cherry. I haven't seen that movie either. Now that I'm hearing about it or just thinking about it, I might want to see it, right? Well, he plays a college kid turned military turned dirtball. Because after the military, he hits rock bottom with a crash within 2 seconds. Drugs and crime and just all over the place, from what I hear. And for some reason, I feel like he can play an even bigger villain in a movie. That doesn't feel like it's enough. And I haven't seen the movie, but it doesn't feel like it's enough to me. He could play a psychotic character. He has the look. It would be better than Spider-Man, because I don't like him as Spider-Man. I'm sorry. Not sorry. I just don't like him in that role. I don't care. All right? And now we have Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, as a villain. And my question is he a better villain than the ones I just mentioned? Or is he the same? Or is he worse? We're about to find out. Let's go. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, are you kidding me? You've seen the trailer. You've heard the song, the music in the background, whether you think it's Nirvana or you think it's David Bowie. You know what I'm talking about, and you know why you're here today. All right, don't do this. I'm not even going to give you the benefit of doubt that you are in a dystopia where everybody needed resources and they were fighting for resources. That's why you didn't know that this movie came out, right? Not even going to give you that excuse. There are no excuses. Penalized. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. It's pretty much the prequel to Fury Road, which, by the way, was such a confusing movie. It was it's just a one long ass race, the entire movie. Not saying it's a bad movie, but the plot. Where's the plot? But anyways, this is the coming up of Furiosa, who was played by Charlize Theron in Fury Road, right? So where she lives, her and her mom, there's plenty of resources going on. Okay, and everybody wants those resources. That they just did, but people are just now finding out that where she's at, they got it. All right, and the first people to come get her is the guys who are led by Chris Hemsworth, aka Dementus. All right, and so he comes down there. He kidnaps Furiosa because they won't give up the stash spot. All right. And then for years and years and years, she lives with Dementus, unfortunately, until Dementus sells her off to another band of pirates, of Morton Joe, who was in Fury Road. Okay? It's not any better. All right? Because all the crap she goes through with that dumbass. All right, his sons that I don't understand how he had his sons, but why they look like that? I don't. What the hell? But anyways, yes, and so she now has to survive and scramble and just play along with the family, and when she's just pretty much waiting for her chance to escape, okay, and truly become herself and the Furiosa, the warrior that is known and throughout the history of this universe, and so on and so on. And that is the premise of the movie. All right. Positive. The action is different. It's just like Fury Road, but more action. There's actual violence in this movie. I'm not saying Fury Road didn't have violence, but this one, it was all over the place in a good way. All right, the way that they moved when they fought in this movie, the way that they kept it going, it didn't stop. It just kept going, and it pulled you into the movie. All right, like I was actually there. It's entertaining. It brought me back to the old school feel of how I like to feel when I watch an action movie. This did it for me. It just the contraptions and the weapons, the different kind of weapons they had that I couldn't make sense of it, but it worked. And the way they rigged those cars up to make them into like battle horses with engines. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's even better than the old school Mad Max trilogy. I'm not saying better altogether, but the contraptions and weapons that they use are a lot better. Okay? Another positive. Her mom passed down the gangster genes. Let me explain this. Let me explain what I'm talking about. When the movie first starts, it's her mom protecting her and taking care of her. Everything her mom did was gangster. Her mom wasn't scared of anything. Nothing intimidated her. Her mom, in order to escape, her mom rode down through the desert with her back on fire. Like it was nothing. Her back was on fire. Flames were coming out of her back while she rode on a motorcycle. And her daughter was in front of her, of course. So when they stopped the motorcycle, the daughter's like, "Mom, your back, it's bleeding. It's probably burnt really bad." And the mom completely ignored anything the daughter was saying and just jumped to the next subject. Back still steaming from the fire, because she jumped off the motorcycle, did the stop, drop, and roll, got back up, and kept talking as if nothing had happened at all. It was incredible. It was crazy. Just how gangster and tough her mom is. And of course, she passed those genes down to her because she did some similar things in the movie, in her struggle, in her storyline. And I just like that whole passing of the torch of the gangsterism going on there. All right, the warrior vibe is strong within these two. Another positive: the cinematography didn't disappoint. Just like in Fury Road, with the colors and the way that the visuals looked, and you're in this entire desert, and the way the desert vibe kicked off. And of course you had the cars and the muscle cars, and that everything was souped up to look like some dystopian type stuff going on there. It kept that thing going in this one. All right, the visuals, the colors, the loud colors going on, it worked. It's not like in some other movies, Argyle, where when they did the whole color splash thing, it didn't even match the movie. It didn't work. What were you doing? No, with this one, no. It was just right. It was just right. The designs of the characters' uniforms and outfits, it all worked. Even for the villain, even for Chris Hemsworth, with the little the cape he wore around his neck, like he's a little kid still, because he never really had a childhood. And I'll talk about that a little later on, but just the way they designed that and the way his outfit looked, it worked. It all worked. It still had that Mad Max vibe strong within the film. Okay? Another positive: Chris Hemsworth was an interesting villain. I'll say interesting. I'm not going to say great. I'm going to say he's an interesting villain, because it's pretty much like taking Thor with no powers and making him an even bigger ass than he was when he was Thor. All right, and it works, because he talked his way out of everything. He had like this kind of fetish for pain, which is kind of weird, and so he would do anything to survive, which is what a villain does, pretty much. He's a bad person. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. Even his own men would die for him. Well, they didn't willingly die for him. You had a Morton Joe where his men willingly died for him, but with the Mentis, they didn't ask for that. And you think he cared? No. But Chris Hemsworth just made that work with the constant rambling and talking just to hear himself talk, which is what he did very well in this movie. And I thought that was hilarious. Now, there's another side to this character that didn't work. I'll get to that in a minute. Negatives: Chris Hemsworth as a villain just wasn't the best. All right. It kind of fell short at the end. I'll put it like that. When we're talking about a great villain, a good villain, and I can name some, I can list some up. I'll put some on the side of the screen. Ones that held up their end as a villain and put a mark in that film. He didn't quite do that. Not as far as intimidating. His villain character was not intimidating at all. It felt like he was a side villain the entire time. And he kind of was, because this is a prequel, of course. But still, knowing that, it was lackluster towards the end, because all you get is this rambling idiot. He's not a fighter. He's not a fighter. He will put other people in front of the gun before he takes a bullet or a fist or anything to that measure. Someone even calls him a scumbag, and they weren't a good person. So you know what kind of time he's on. All right. Another negative. The trailer had a better soundtrack. Now, remember when I mentioned that little song that everybody should know by now, whether it's David Bowie or it's Nirvana? Why didn't we hear this in the film? Not once. I can't even remember. I can't even think of a score in the movie that was good. If there was music, I forgot. There was music, but I just couldn't remember what it was. All right. And I was looking for that soundtrack in the trailer to be in the film. It wasn't there. It was missing. I love a good soundtrack, and you missed the opportunity to present this to me. All right. It didn't work. It's just, it didn't work at all with that. When you made the trailer seem more exciting vibe-wise than the film. Not to say the film was bad for that, but I just that kind of song, that song, that soundtrack would have set something up so well, so beautifully it set up, and it would have illustrated a lot going on in that film with the cinematography, everything else already going on and perfect. Then the soundtrack set in. You can't lose, but you missed that opportunity. All right? Disappointing. Last negative. This movie needed more alternative endings. And let me explain. And I'm not going to spoil it, of course, but I'll let you know this. There were two ideas of how this is supposed to end. All right. One was supposed to be the fake one, and then one was the real one, or the hint at how it really ended. But when I think of a grand ending for an action movie, I want to see action for real. All right? Fighting of some sort, a struggle, something, not a bunch of talking. And so I wanted to see at least two more alternate endings. Something with some action, something going on a lot more than what they showed us. And I can't say it because I'm going to spoil it. But at least one of those alternate endings could have had some scuffling or kind of a give Furiosa a challenge. Give her a challenge. Jesus. Give her some kind of challenge to go against. Those two alternate endings you gave us. Now, one was interesting. One was very interesting, and it suggested a lot of other things that happened for that to happen. You want the spoiler to the ending? Let me know. Just let me know. I'll make a quick video for that one. But regardless of all that, I got to give this a hell yes. I'm giving it a hell yes. This was a good movie. One of the best so far. And people are actually saying they don't want to see any more Mad Max movies. The three back in the 80s were good enough. But no, this is an opportunity to actually have some sequels that do good in the future. Keep going. Press that like button, share. You better subscribe.